friends, today there is some great news. I didn't even expect that I would be able to pleasantly surprise you with such a large number of joyful news from several directions today. So be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the most important news from the counter-offensive. Here, the Ukrainian armed forces launched a new wave of offensive actions yesterday, and there is already a significant advancement by our troops. It covered a distance of 6.5 kilometers and a width of about 15 kilometers. What do you think of such a breakthrough? The Ukrainian armed forces are storming the town of Robotyne and are approaching Verbovy. The Russians are shocked by the serious progress made by the Ukrainian armed forces and the breakthrough in their defense. Therefore, they are intensifying their shelling and conducting airstrikes on Ukrainian military equipment. The situation is still very complex, but despite everything, success is on the side of Ukrainian armed forces. As a result of today's advancements, we can see that there are only 22 kilometers left to the town of Tokmak, where the Russians are based. In the Vuhledar direction, the Ukrainian armed forces are also actively advancing. However, there is currently no progress here because the battles are taking place towards Rivnopol. In turn, Russia is intensifying its shelling along the entire front line and the liberated towns. And as you already know, Russia has started actively interfering with the plans of the Ukrainian armed forces, so the Liman direction is currently being stormed. In the area, we can see that in the Kremina and Siversk region, the occupiers managed to make some progress closer to Zarychne. But today, the Ukrainian armed forces have also started a counter-offensive here, and difficult battles are taking place in the Yampolivka area as they advance towards Kremina. In the Bilohorivka area, the advancement to about 3.5 kilometers. Currently, they have managed to get close to Shepilivka and the battles continue. There is a possibility that this area will become the focus of a three-pronged attack in the global counteroffensive by the Ukrainian armed forces, and it will now be more difficult for the Russian aviation to stop their advance, as the attacks are not only coming from the south but also from the Lugansk direction, which complicates the defense tasks for the Russians. Overall, it can be said that the Ukrainian armed forces offensive is gaining momentum. Further north, in the Dvorichne area, the occupiers haven't shown any activity so far. They are shelling along the entire front line, but without any offensive actions. The situation remains stable in the Svatovo area, with no attacks being reported. In the Bakhmut direction, active battles continue. Here, Russia is trying to regain the lost positions in the Orikhovo-Vasilievka area and is shelling along the entire front line. But they are not successful and the front line remains unchanged. The Ukrainian armed forces, on the other hand, are gradually continuing their work, but no new advancements haven't been reported yet. In the Avdiivka direction, there is also success on the side of the Ukrainian armed forces, as the Russians launched attacks in 4 directions yesterday. However, today we can see that there is no progress and only shelling and attacks are reported on the outskirts of Avdiivka. Currently, the Ukrainian armed forces are in a defensive position in this direction, and no counteroffensive is being conducted. In the Kherson direction, the situation remains unchanged and Russia heavily shells the entire front line, including the area near Ochakiv. In turn, the Ukrainian armed forces continue to strike at Russian bases, but so far it hasn't helped solve the problem.
Середній рівень води в області становить 56 см. Вона вже відступила від 32 населених пунктів Херсонщини. Підтопленими залишаються Херсон, Новогреднєво та Благодатівка. Там під водою 595 будинків.
As of today, it is known that the Ukrainian armed forces have managed to destroy an additional 540 units of Russian military personnel. In Crimea, the situation is also tense. Near the Crimean Bridge in the area of Feodosia, it appears that guerrillas have blown up the railway, but the occupation authorities have promised to restore traffic within a few hours. Meanwhile, the United States has announced a new aid package of $1.3 billion to Ukraine. $520 million will be allocated to help Ukraine repair its energy network, and $357 million will support the modernization of border checkpoints, railway lines, ports, and other critical infrastructure in Ukraine. Aviation is also critically needed at the moment. Ukrainian pilots state that without modern aircraft they are unable to accomplish much. They note that the old Su-25 planes they currently use cannot be compared to the Russian Su-35, which has advanced radar stations and long-range missiles. President Zelensky has announced that F-16 jets will arrive in 6 months, no sooner. The first F-16 aircraft may arrive in 6-7 months, and Ukrainian pilots will start training on them in August of this year. We can only wait for that. An interesting fact is that according to analysts at the Institute for the Study of War, the current slow defensive counteroffensive may aim to exhaust enemy forces and prepare for further offensive actions. The review states that Ukrainian forces conducted counteroffensive operations on at least 3 fronts on June 21st. Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Hanna Maliar, announced on June 21st that Ukrainian forces achieved partial success during offensive operations in the Bilogorivka-Shipilivka direction. In the past 24 hours, Ukrainian forces also targeted 3 command posts, 14 concentrational areas, and other important targets in Russia, as reported by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces this morning. In Kyiv, there was an explosion and a resultant fire, likely due to a gas leak in a 16-story residential building. Rescue services reported that at 3:45 a.m. in the Dniprovsky district on Malyshevo Street, an explosion occurred in a residential building, presumably caused by gas, on the 7th floor, leading to structural damage. According to preliminary information, 5 apartments on the 6th, 7th and 8th floors were destroyed, but 2 people were successfully rescued. That's all for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye!